Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the United Starship Trident, its continuing mission to explore and heal the multiverse. The USS Trident is on a universal healing operation. For this mission to succeed, we have to coordinate with future timelines that want to heal and forgive the universe. Our ultimate mission is to save as many life forms as possible. For our true purpose is to understand and solve the problem and not be trapped in a never-ending cycle of violence. Our purpose is to change the course of history for a better and sound future. Our primary mission is to heal the womb of creation. Our transdimensional ship has the ability to phase in and out of different frequency-based planes and can travel in time and into other parallel universes. Because we can phase out of any reality, we are virtually indestructible to most weapons in most timelines, and our slipstream engines allow us to travel the universe at transwarp velocities.
Welcome to the Federation News Network. We're sitting here with Lieutenant Commander Kern, and we're going to ask him some questions concerning World War III. Hello, Lieutenant Commander Kern. How are you doing?
Hello, Lieutenant. I'm doing well. I look forward to this interview.
How is it that we know so little concerning the great events surrounding World War III in our Federation databases?
In short, censorship. The Federation has a strongly revised view on history concerning World War III. We learn to this day at school that it is the victors that write history. So it is sadly with World War III. At Section 31, we have the ability to monitor the timelines, and we can actually see what really happened during World War III. We can even see and monitor World War II and World War I. In theory, there's no limit in looking back in time.
You've been studying the truth now since over a decade now. Why did you choose the Star Trek universe to cloak your message?
Well, the Star Trek universe is vast, and many ET races that appear in Star Trek are comparable to extraterrestrials that have visited our Earth. Well, Gene Roddenberry got this information from government insiders and whistleblowers. Once you start unraveling the truth in the movies and series, it all starts making sense. As an example, the Star Wars movies are also based in truth. The powers that be notice that there's a galactic war going on, and that there's a Darth Vader figure in our universe or galaxy, and programmed our minds through the movies to make us believe that Darth Vader is a bad and horrible person that wants to conquer the universe. Whereas in reality, he's building a universal superweapon that is going to save us all. One day when the job is done, Darth Vader will be received on Earth as a hero and liberator, and not as a tyrant and destroyer of worlds.
So in your mind, all these movie characters are real?
Not all characters of all movies are real, only in those series of movies where you have the feeling that the characters are alive somehow. I know that I said in one of my videos that there are at least 12 parallel universes, but we are talking of manifested universes here. There are more than 64 versions of our Earth, of which 13 are fully manifested. But I've had so many episodes with so many planes of existences that I lost count. The goal was always the same though, universal healing. You always have to rehearse the roles of epic movies from Hollywood. They tell you that the rebels fight for truth and justice, and that they fight actually for a democracy or a republic, whereas you know that these are flawed systems of governance, that democracy is actually a secret tyranny of the powers that be. In reality, the rebels are supported by communist-like galactic empires surrounding the empire of Darth Vader. Darth Vader knows the truth, his people know the truth, and they are a minority in the universe, and have been building the superweapon since decades now.
Let's get back to the Star Trek universe. In your episodes, what was the role of Picard?
Jean-Luc Picard represents for me a very important aspect of the male side of creation. The entire series was a healing procedure for me and Picard actually, and every single time we needed an operation, the game or the series was paused and multiple boxes or space appeared from the ship comparable to the time ship from the future, wherein the time ship was more space than the actual volume of the ship. Only Lieutenant Commander Data knew of these operations and was aware of them. During normal play, normal space-time, the crew and even Data wasn't aware that this happened. It is complicated, but there are multiple versions of the ship Enterprise. In one episode, I saw the future where Captain Crusher was leading her own time-traveling hospital ship, and Captain Crusher was learning to operate in very toxic environments. Another very important role was that of Locutus. As I said in other videos, the Borg believe that at the end of times, only biosynthetic life will make it. That is why they assimilate other races and do not kill them. This is comparable to a floodgate, where only biosynthetic life will make it. It is difficult, but I've had so many episodes that it's difficult to arrange them.
So if I understood correctly, the entire series The Next Generation was a healing spell for you and Picard.
Yes and no. The Star Trek The Next Generation series was a healing procedure for me and for the Picard version that we want to save. It is partially also social engineering to make us behave in a certain fashion. For me, as an example, after waking up in 2007, I've had the feeling that otherworldly entities operated on me for months and years. Back then, I had very little energy, and I still tried finishing my studies. But I broke off my studies in 2012, 2013. It was one of the most difficult decisions that I had to make in my life, because I believed that without that paper or diploma, I would never land that fancy job at some big software company. The only thing that I kept doing consistently was my activism online, and I'm sure that one day the people will appreciate my work.
After watching your personal vlog series on Star Trek and the Borg, do you believe that the Borg are misunderstood? That the Federation are not telling us the truth about the Borg and other stellar civilizations?
I only know from my personal experiences that in the Star Trek universe, and possibly ours, we need a biosynthetic solution, comparable to the biosynthetic ending of Mass Effect 3. This means that our bodies have at least to have nanites in them to pass as biosynthetic.
Well, to be honest, Alex, I do not want to be assimilated. The Borg look so evil and dark.
In my episodes, I always accepted full assimilation, because in a past life, I was assimilated by the Borg, or in a parallel universe. So the Borg thrive on biosynthetic life. They assimilate, they do not destroy. And assimilation is not painful, because the pain receptors can be deactivated by the Borg. As an example, the Borg have been using time-traveling capacities since the day they discovered it, whereas the Federation, under Section 31, has been suppressing time-traveling technologies. Section 31 believes that only a few people have the right to time travel. If you would see your history more truthfully, you would act differently now. After all, the Federation is known in their quadrant for being militaristic and expansionist. Could you answer me one question? How long has the Federation been at war since it was created?
Well, we learned at school that we didn't have a choice, that the Klingons keep igniting wars, so were the Romulans, so were the Cardassians, so were the Borg, and so were the Founders. That's how at least we learned it at school, that we were fighting for our lives.
Just look at the facts. The Federation is bigger now than at the very beginning, and it has been at war most of its existence. Or am I wrong here?
Yes, you're right, that the Federation is way bigger now than at the very beginning, and that the Federation has been mostly at war, not in peace. You're right about that.
And since the Dominion Wars, you've been cloning people and building warships under Section 31. So in short, the Federation is militaristic and expansionist. You're more like the mirror universe of the Federation, but your propaganda suggests that you're peaceful and wanting to embrace the galaxy.
Well, I believe that we're all trying our best from our perspective. At least you're allowed to spread your propaganda. The Federation hasn't censored you yet. Well, back to the topic of the Borg Queen. You said that there were multiple versions of the Borg Queen. Some of them want to help us, and some of them want to fight us. Could you tell us more about this?
Yes, you are right. Apparently there's a version of the Borg Queen that has taken over communist China, and since the last 30 years has been building up the Chinese military to take over the world. The Chinese High Command believe that the age of the Western man, or the age of US imperialism, is over. In essence, China is the real dominant threat to us all. Since decades now, China has been infiltrating the West, using trained cooks to infiltrate the West. You must know that Western Chinese food doesn't taste at all like indigenous Chinese food. It has been specially adapted for the taste of the Western man. And the Chinese know that love goes through the stomach. In a future coming war with China, all these sleeper cells will become active and will sabotage the defense capacities of the Western nations. It is so sad, but the powers that be want a worldwide communist dictatorship with one world currency, with one global justice system, with one global central bank, and a global military. The precursor of this military are the Blue Helmets. This is what I found out in the last 10 years online, independent of my spiritual episodes.
So the Borg Queen that apparently controls China is more like the movie version of the Borg Queen?
Yes, the Borg Queen that apparently controls China is cold and without empathy, and has no respect for life whatsoever. She's more like the Star Trek version of the Borg Queen, and she's not on our side.
How long have you had in these episodes, Alex?
Well, I've been a dreamer for the greater part of my youth and life, but these intensive episodes started when I woke up in 2007. After researching the truth for 7 months straight, I questioned the very basic foundations of reality itself, and started inducing out-of-body projection or out-of-body travel. With this, I made contact to etheric entities, and I've had a relationship with a female ghost.
Wow, so you have had this relationship with an invisible woman. How is this possible if she doesn't have a physical body?
Well, she has an etheric body. Her etheric body is finer in vibratory frequency than our physical bodies, but it is comparable to a force field. You can actually sense and touch her, and with your third eye or your pineal gland, you can actually see her. So in essence, you can also induce out-of-body projection or astral projection, and you can actually see the beings on the other world or on the astral realm. In essence, you can have a relationship with a female ghost. So you can feel, kiss, and love them. It's all possible. So what is the official diagnosis that you got from your psychiatrist? Well, paranoid schizophrenia. Well, not all of my experiences with the other world were nice or good. I've had several psychic attacks from a female entity that made me vomit or always puke. In 2008, I've had so many attacks that I lost a lot of weight. So I went to the psychiatrist in 2009 and got medication. Risperidone suppressed the attacks of this being successfully, but I still had my episodes. So I'm not a fan of Big Pharma, but I use this medication to suppress the symptoms of vomiting and feeling ill. The medication doesn't cure me, it just suppresses the symptoms.
Looking back at your YouTube history, I see that you made 3 response videos to Alexis Ren. Why is that?
Well, I believe that Alexis Ren was my soulmate, at least for a very long time. Or I had to believe it. And I've had hundreds of episodes with a projection of Alexis Ren.
What is again a projection? Is it a hologram of a real person?
A projection is an exact copy of a person in etheric form, in soul form, pretty much like a ghost. And she can work in the other world and help God achieve its goals, or can even be enslaved by the darker forces to do their wicked things.
So in theory, anybody can have projections of themselves walking around in the ether realm.
Many projections help us, but many projections also get enslaved by Satan or the negative forces, and then work against us. As an example, when you have nightmares of siblings torturing you, then these projections of your siblings are enslaved by Satan. I've had dreams where millions upon millions of projections got saved and liberated.
You mean that projections of me could be enslaved in the other world and could be doing horrific things without my knowledge?
Yes, projections can also make contracts like any other person, and if they're tricked into making a contract with Satan without them knowing about it, then they can start working for Satan and don't even know about it. That's how Satan works.
Well, Lieutenant Commander Kern, thanks a lot for this interview. Our time has run out. I found this conversation to be very interesting, and in our next episode we could potentially talk more about Picard and the role of the Queen in all of this. Thank you again.
Thanks a lot, Lieutenant. It was a pleasure.